Well, plenary day yesterday at the House of Representatives, where Honorable Patrick Umoh, member of the House of Reps from Akwa Ibom State, had moved the motion expressing concern over recent reports of telecom providers in Nigeria linking NIN to subscribers' lines without their consent, and thereby exposing them to criminal activities and subjecting legitimate NIN holders to grave risks in the country. Well, it is good news for us here in the studio as we have live Honorable Patrick Umoh with us in the studio. Very good morning to you, Honorable. It's wonderful to have you joining us today.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Well, we just watched your clip at the House of Representatives where you had moved that motion. And of course, we also saw the House, ordering the Nigerian Communications Commission to launch an investigation into what telcos are committing these crimes against majority of Nigerians. Do you care to take us through what, made you move that motion at the House?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I was elected to serve the people by representing their interest in the House.
Yeah.
And recently, I've been inundated by calls from my constituents, complaints from my colleagues, one of whom is Honorable Isiaka, who also made a statement yesterday while arguing the motion. So the point is that in recent times, the service providers have caused us a lot of trouble, linking NIN numbers to phone numbers unscrupulously. And sometimes it even appears that they can link about 4 NIN numbers to a particular phone number, causing that kind of confusion that can create issues in our country. Some people have their reputations damaged because, of course, this is associated with criminal activities. And if you're a gentleman like I am, and like many other colleagues of mine are, and you have to face prosecution over something you know nothing about, it can be very embarrassing. It will damage your reputation, and it is a risk. Again, it is even flouting the Nigerian Data Protection Act, which clearly says that we should have, every Nigerian is entitled to have that privacy. There is no reason why your NIN number should be linked to mine. I should have my personal national identity number
linked to my own personal phone.
Even if I have 4 phone numbers, it should be linked to just one national identity number.
Yes.
And not the level of confusion that we're facing in our country. So the whole thing looks unregulated. It looks like the telecom industries are just operating in another country of their own. So we have a duty to protect Nigerians, and we have a duty to raise these issues in Parliament so that it can be investigated. These issues can be investigated. More so, it is not even enough to allow NCC alone to investigate these activities.
Who do you think should also come into the picture?
In the prayers of the motion I moved yesterday, the House Committee on Interior was also mandated to investigate the matter. And it is important for our country so that we can maintain a level of sanity. There's no reason why I should be on the streets, maybe working as a good Nigerian, and then I am accosted by security officials that, look, you have done this, you have done that, whereas I'm innocent. Somebody can get into kidnapping, for instance.
Exactly.
And an innocent person, maybe a pastor, maybe a priest, maybe a politician, a medical doctor, somebody who is living a very stable life, is accosted and
because a certain NIN has been linked
to his phone, and the person is innocent.
Now, Honorable, when we look at it from the surface level, it might seem like just a means of meeting up with certain targets within the telcos or whatnot. It might be in-house bureaucracies and all of that. But when you look at it from the security point of view, why do you think that the telcos might have told these routes in linking phone numbers to the NIN numbers that are not, designated to be together? Is there anything more that Nigerians need to know than meets the eye?
Well, that's what the investigation will unravel. I'm interested in the outcome of that investigation as the mover of the motion.
Yeah.
But it was a well-celebrated motion because almost 1/3 of members complained that their phone numbers are linked to NIN numbers they don't know.
Yeah.
Some phone numbers are linked to some NIN, the confusion
There's
here
just
and
a
there.
whole lot of mix-up.
Yeah, so it looks like the telecom industry is unregulated, whereas we have a parliament. So we're interested in the outcome of that investigation because we want Nigerians to be safe. We want Nigerians to enjoy that right of privacy as guaranteed by the Nigeria Data Protection Act and even the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, in protection of data, it's one thing to ensure that data is protected. It's also another thing to ensure that investigations are made into certain individuals who might either be aiding or abating crimes and criminality in the country. Let's take, for example, a clear case of the kidnapping and banditry and terrorism that we have in the northwestern part of the country and the northeastern part of the country, where you have, these kidnappers using mobile phone numbers to communicate within themselves. They take ransom via bank accounts that have NIN, that have some sort of, what is it called now, BVN, and these BVNs are linked to the NIN and the phone number and all of that. There's just a whole chain of connection. With all of these indices and all of these things in place, why has it been quite a very Herculean task for these bandits or kidnappers to be nipped to the board and apprehended?
You see, this is encapsulated even in the motion I moved yesterday. It can be unnervingly difficult for a security personnel to unravel one. Okay, let's take for instance, Honorable Isiaka said that he dialed *996# and then he had like 4 phone numbers. Look at that scenario, for instance.
4 phone numbers.
4 phone numbers. His own NIN. Now imagine that any of these other phone numbers had been used to perpetrate crime. It would be so difficult to investigate that kind of crime. In fact, imagine this scenario that Honorable Isiaka is arrested.
It would be difficult to vindicate himself.
First, the media trial that a serving member of the National Assembly is involved in kidnapping. It will be so difficult to reverse it. It will be so difficult to manage that reputation that has been damaged.
Yes.
So it is important that we cause an investigation and unravel the reason why the telecom industries are just operating unregulated and causing this confusion in our country.
When you say unregulated, it's a very broad statement. Do you care to take us through the processes of regulation that you think the telcos in the country might have not been subjected to under the Data Protection Act and also under the provisions of the NCC?
No, our major concern is that right to privacy.
Okay.
The moment I no longer enjoy the privacy I should have in my communication with you using my cell phone, the moment there is an infraction or an incursion, that somebody is listening to what conversation I'm having with you, there's a problem. The moment I also have access to your national identity number, that's your NIN number, then there's a problem. You no longer enjoy that privacy you feel you have. So there may be more to it than can meet the of course. So we need to cause that proper investigation. That's why we have involved not just NCC but the House Committee on Interior. We get consultants and see what really is the problem. We need Nigerians to be safe, and it is also to help the security agencies realize how best they can perform their functions. Because if 4 phone numbers are linked to one NIN, and then these 4 phone numbers belong to different people of different backgrounds, different locations, then it can be very difficult to track a criminal. So all hands must be on deck. Parliament is just doing its work, which was for me to raise that motion. Of course, they had an overwhelming resolution of the House, so that we get to the root of it and save our country.
Now, I know the investigations have been ordered, by the House as regards to what the NCC is supposed to do, and we await the results of, that particular investigation. However, do you care to take us through perhaps the telcos that you might have had in mind, or the telcos that reports might have gotten to you that are carrying out these activities that you have cited at the floor of the House?
Well, that's not how the House works.
Okay.
You see, once I have moved a motion, I am functus officio.
Oh.
So the next is for the designated committee of the House to look into the issues and then report to the House within 4 legislative weeks or 6 legislative weeks, depending on what the prayer of the motion was. In my case, I asked that the report should be back to the House within 4 legislative weeks because of how urgent, how important, how significant, how fundamental it is to the right of privacy of every Nigerian.
Well, Honorable, you know, the argument that you had laid out was that the action was a clear violation of the Nigeria Data Protection Act 2023 and the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation 2019, which guarantees the right to privacy and protection of personal data of every Nigerian. Now, I had laid out a question earlier with regards to this particular act and criminality in the country. In your position, having in-depth knowledge with regards to this, do you think that perhaps some sort of investigation should also be launched into why telcos have not been able to effectively help out our security agencies in using the NIN, the identification, of course, the phone numbers, and the BVN of these bank accounts that monies are being pushed into as ransoms for the security agencies to nab these kidnappers or bandits in certain parts of the country? Do you think such investigation should also come into play?
Well, the motion of yesterday was basically about NIN.
Okay.
I also know that the BVN is another component of it. These things are linked.
All three are linked.
And so we will allow the investigation of the investigations by NCC and that of the House Committee on Interior to come up so that we can do our evaluations. Who knows? It can open us up to something else that may not have been contemplated by the motion of yesterday. That's how we make our laws. So the report that will be laid in the House after 4 legislative weeks will enable us as a parliament to come up with such laws that can assist Nigerians, that can assist the country, that can provide a proper legal framework for regulation of the industry.
Now, still talking about telcos and the embattled issues that they have been embroiled in much recently, we had seen, firstly, their earlier situation between the telcos and banks in the country, where there was a non-remittance of USSD monies to the telcos, and NCC had to order the telcos to disconnect about 9 banks or something like that, which at the end of the day, many Nigerians believed was bearing a major brunt on the backs of ordinary Nigerians who might not have access to mobile banking applications. Let's talk about that. How do we balance out this sort of situation where the big elephants, talking about the telcos and the banks, the NCC and the CBN, are all at loggerheads?
Well, we still have issues. Okay. Issues about failed transactions, issues about people doing things with some banks, some maybe money points without backups, and all of that. Yeah. So these are issues we are considering in the House currently, so that we can provide a proper legal framework to regulate these respective industries. But you see, it is a serious issue. It gives all of us very deep concerns.
Yes.
If we leave these sectors without proper regulation, then it will become a problem to all Nigerians. See, the GDP of our country is directly implicated by the operations of our banks.
Yes.
The telecom industry. Of course, if you look at their performances, you will see they make humongous sums. I don't know what remittances they make. I may not have the indices as I speak.
Yeah.
But then if you look at it and they are properly regulated, it will assist our country in terms of economic growth. And then it's also sensitive because the crimes committed in the course of these transactions between the telecoms industry, the banking industry, the mobile apps that we use in transferring money, the failed transactions that occur in the course of all of these financial interactions, are such that we must be interested in what's going on. The House has a committee on electronic banking and is chaired by a very qualified and competent legislator. And I am sure that going forward, a lot will change.
Are there specific things that Nigerians should be looking out for at the floor of the House, maybe going forward, perhaps a motion from you yet again, or are you in talks with any of your colleagues at the National Assembly for such efforts to be put into place to ensure that neither the banks nor the telcos, play any sort of foul play on Nigerians anymore?
Of course, we'll have a balanced procedure for all of this.
Okay.
We are currently working on some laws that we can update what was before, to ensure that whatever goes on in these sectors are properly regulated. Okay. Because of the advent of technology and how society is evolving, and looking at also the legal framework that we have, which regulates these two sectors, we update we need to update these laws almost every day, because most of these laws are outmoded laws, in the sense that today an app will come up with new features that may not have been contemplated by the law regulating that, and so we need to update these laws. That's the job, the core job of Parliament, lawmaking.
Well, lawmaking is the core job of Parliament, and of course Nigerians would continue to hope that better laws, more stringent laws are made to protect the rights and data of many Nigerians. Still talking on the telcos, we saw a recent move by the big four in the country, talking about MTN, Airtel, Glo, Etisalat, and of course to up a tariff, the call and data tariff, by almost or up to 100%. Now, talks were done by the NCC and the telcos, and an agreement was reached for 50%. However, the NLC came into the picture and said that 50% is too much of a burden for Nigerians. They would rather do a 10% tariff hike with the telcos. What do you think of all this situation with regards to the telcos, the NCC, and of course the NLC?
My worry has always been about the ordinary Nigerian.
Okay.
You see, in most cases, you find out that Nigerians even lose money trying to subscribe to data, trying to buy these. You don't even know, sometimes you don't even know what deductions are made.
You just buy and whatever is given to you is what you take.
You have no option. You look like a man who says, I ask for nothing, I refuse nothing. It shouldn't be so. It is a contractual relationship between a subscriber and the telecom provider. There is an obligation on the telecom provider to have a proper contract with the end user. You just load your phone, you make a call. Sometimes you don't even know what deductions are made.
You just see figures and then overlook it.
And you overlook it. And again, it can be so difficult to get back at them because of the way the platform is.
Channel of communication.
There's none. The MTN, for instance, can just send you a message and you cannot
send them back,
reply that particular message.
That's correct.
To have a proper communication.
That's correct.
So where's the contract? What's the basis?
Well, that is where persons like you come into play at this point. Don't you think so? Or do you still think that perhaps they should be a customer to service provider communication relationship in this sense?
Absolutely. For instance, I tell you this. Most Nigerians even spend more on data, on airtime, than they spend in feeding in a day.
That's a shocking revelation.
If you doubt this, sit down and calculate how much you have spent in a week on data, on phone calls. It will amaze you. And then look at the multiplier effect of what happens within even a community. You will see how much the telecoms companies are making. They are making so much money from Nigerians, and so we deserve better services from them.
On one hand, the argument is, yes, persons like yourself are of the opinion that the telcos are making so much money from Nigeria and thereby all Nigerians picture perfect service. While on the other hand, the argument from the telcos is the fact that the last time there was any form of tariff hike or tariff review with regards to calls or data, packages was more than a decade ago, almost 11 years now. And what they are calling for, if you take a look at the indices in the picture, the economic realities of today, the exchange rate, many indices come into play. A 50% tariff hike is not entirely out of place. Do you subscribe to
50%?
a 50% tariff hike? Now, this is the argument of the telcos.
That's out of place.
This is not my argument. I'm just pitching you against your team against the telcos team. Your argument, please, Honorable.
In all honesty, we need to be careful.
Okay.
You see, and I also want to raise the consciousness of Nigerians to the fact that these stakeholders in the private sector also owe Nigerians. They owe the Nigerian economy. So we must also look at the indices of their contribution to our economy.
In what way? Are we talking about taxation or what sense?
Taxation, in many ways.
Maybe the corporate...
The services they provide, the corporate social responsibility, the tax payment, remittances and all of that. It's important. I know severally how we've had to invite some of them to the house to find out what remittances they have made to ITF, the Industrial Training Fund. What corporate social responsibility have you engaged in to impact on the society you are operating within? The communities may not even enjoy these things. And if we don't take our time, it will spiral to other sectors of our economy. And they will come up with unbridled tariffs, and Nigerians will continue to suffer. And at the end, the pressure will come back to government. Which may not be the reality.
Okay.
So there are also stakeholders in the economy.
Yes.
We are interested in their contributions to the economy.
Yeah.
So that we can balance these things, and Nigerians will also have a fair share of being Nigerians.
Now, Honorable, the bone of contention on the table at the moment is on whether or not there even should be a tariff hike, and if there is one, in your opinion, what percentage is most suitable for Nigerians at this point?
What justification do they have to hike to 50%?
Well, it was 100% at some point, and then it was slashed in half by the NCC.
Of course, it must go to the barest minimum.
Which is what, in your opinion?
10%.
As suggested by the NLC?
Absolutely.
And do you
I am for the people.
And do you think the telcos will agree to this?
Well, they will agree.
In case they do not agree, are there plans made by perhaps the federal government or even the NCC or any stakeholder involved to ensure that these powers are stamped down or taken away from the telcos, majority of them not being Nigerian-based businesses, to bring it back home and develop our own telecommunications industry?
Well, for me, as a Nigerian parliamentarian, my brief begins and stops within the confines of my job as a parliamentarian, which is, of course, lawmaking and oversight.
Yes.
So we'll look at those issues and see what contributions we can make as a parliament to assist Nigerians. It's a people's house. We're there to represent the interests of the people. So I'm not here to speak on behalf of the federal government or speak on behalf of NCC. My job is that of a parliamentarian.
Well, certainly, Honorable, we must thank you for laying that out. We have just about 5 minutes to wrap up this conversation on the program. But just to get your thoughts with regards to the NIN linkage, so we don't deviate too much, the illegal phone number linkage to NIN, across the country by telcos. Going forward, yes, investigations are still ongoing and all of that, but what should be the duty of, stakeholders, especially members of parliament, especially the NCC, especially the Data Protection Agency and all of that? What should Nigerians be expecting to ensure that they hold all of these stakeholders to account with regards to this irregularity that has been revealed or exposed by you?
The outcome is simple and very straightforward. That they should go back to the drawing table, the drawing board.
Yes.
That every Nigerian has an identity, and that identity should be such that the NIN number should be linked to a Nigerian's phone number.
Yes.
Just like you have your international passport. If you have diplomatic passport or what kind of passport, it is linked to you. So NIN should be like your fingerprint, your thumbprint. It shouldn't be duplicated or proliferated to too many numbers. It should be to you. Yeah. It should have mathematical precision. it shouldn't be linked to too many numbers. That's the point. And then, 2, it should also be possible to track a criminal or a culprit directly using the NIN number as linked to the phone number and as linked to the BVN and maybe as linked to the voter's card.
Or even the driver's
Or
license.
even the driver's license.
Now that is
so that
yeah.
at some point
Yeah.
it will be seamless to attach the NIN number to all these other numbers. And it will be easy for all of us.
That's one of the major arguments that many Nigerians continue to have, Honorable. The fact that a typical Nigerian has multiple means of identification, including these non-state actors that continue to perpetrate heinous acts within the country. Yet, for some reason, it's more difficult than easy to nab them. A typical Nigerian has the NIN, has the BVN, has a phone number, has a voter's card, has a driver's license, probably has an official ID card where he works. About 6 different means of identification.
And even has the ATM.
And even has the ATM, which is another card yet. If all of these things are into play, or set into place, and it seems very difficult to utilize them in nabbing crime and criminality, do you think that maybe some of them should be let go and, streamlined into maybe 2 or 3 means of identification?
I think all of these can be synchronized.
Okay.
So that there will be proper identity to the NIN. As simple as that. So we shouldn't be beating about the bush, carrying too many things. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
We should be able to have even one card that can solve all these problems, and it is linked to an individual. That's the best way to combat crime.
Oh, I forgot to add international passport to her.
Oh, of course, that's beyond the borders.
Well, I just want you to send out a message to the majority of Nigerians who felt really proud about the motion that you had, moved at the floor of the House yesterday, to your constituents as well. This is your camera. In just a minute or so, you can send out your message to your people.
Well, thank you very much, Nigerians. I'm here to reassure you of the commitment of the 10th House of Representatives in taking up your concerns and in addressing them day after day as we have our plenary. I can assure you that the House is committed to your concerns and will do the needful to guarantee your privacy. Your identity is entirely yours and cannot be duplicated, cannot be proliferated. So it is entirely yours, and we want you to have confidence in this country. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. It's been wonderful. A pleasure having you here on the program.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to having you again.
Thank you so much.